Welcome to my next Stranger Things Season 2 episode review video. Before I get into that, though, pretty important, if you're not caught up to the point where I am every watching or watching Stranger Things, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention, as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, if you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this detailed review any further to avoid any potential spoiler. And thus far, I've watched every single episode that's aired of Stranger Things. Looking forward to the fifth and final season of Stranger Things, which I'm hearing is going to come out in November, although that has yet to be confirmed. And I'm guessing once it does come out, they'll do a few episodes and then they'll take a break for like a month and then do the rest of the episodes. So it'll go into 2026. That would be my guess. But it's one of my favorite TV shows of all time. Where it lands, I'm not exactly sure, but I would say at least it's at least in the top 20. I can say that with certainty, but it's possible it's in the top 10. After I'm done with this rewatch of the show and watching season 5 of Stranger Things, I think I'll have a better indication of where it lands in my all-time favorite TV shows of all time. It's definitely not in the top 5, unfortunately, but it's a good, solid show, and I like it a lot. I want to rewatch it to let it resonate. So with that said, this will be Stranger Things Season 2, Episode 2. The title of this episode is called Trick or Treat, Freak, and this will be my review reaction recap after just finishing watch the episode. Awakening in the Upside Down after destroying the Demogorgon, and this is after the events of Season 1. A disoriented Eleven screams for Mike until she finds a gate created by the Demogorgon. After the soldiers she sees patrolling the other side of it leave, she uses her powers to widen the gate and slip through into Hawkins Middle School. She hurries to the Wheeler house only to find it swarming with agents from Hawkins National Laboratory. Telling the Wheelers that Eleven is dangerous, Eleven watches through a window as Mike remains adamant that he would never give her up. When he spots her through the window, the agents give chase and she hides in the woods distraught. Then we go to our current time frame. Eleven asks of Hopper if she can go out on Halloween as a ghost, as she's looking like a ghost from like the original Halloween movie, and as she would not be recognized with the sheet over her. Hopper refuses, but offers to take the evening off and spend it eating candy and watching horror movies together. He explains the concept of a compromise to her, and she accepts. Joyce expresses a brief moment of panic when she wakes up and finds Will not in his bed, but realizes he is just using the bathroom. He's just peeing. She notices a drawing of a creature from his visions on his desk. Will denies having another episode. Will, Dustin, and Lucas all suit up in their Ghostbusters Halloween costumes. Will is Egon, Dustin is Ray, and Lucas is Peter Venkman. Their mothers enthusiastically take pictures of the ecstatic boys. Lucas's sister, Erica, mocking him the whole time. Mike, also Peter Venkman, is less enthusiastic. The boys arrive at school and Lucas and Mike argue over their assigned roles. Lucas believing Mike is trying to make him be Winston Zeddemore because of his race. They soon realize they are the only ones who have dressed up for Halloween, to their embarrassment. Dustin and Lucas debate asking Max Mayfield to join the group, but cannot work up the courage to do so. Joyce shows Hopper that the setting of Will's drawing perfectly matches their front yard, concluding that he lied about not having an episode. Hopper agrees with Sam Owens, the doctor, his theory about the anniversary effect, and regretfully tells her that their situation will not go back to the way it was, but it can get better. They reminisce about their time in high school together before Joyce expresses that she wants it all to be over. In the bowels of the lab, a soldier steps through the gate following the power surge and is guided by Owens to a generator built in the Upside Down, repairing it and putting their connection systems back online. Owens listens to the recording of Will's most recent session, contemplating. Nancy sees a girl in Hawkins High Library that resembles Barb, spacing out until Steve notices and pulls her aside. She tells him that she is afraid of pretending that she does not know what happened to Barb, but Steve reminds her that they will be arrested should they leak any information. He encourages her to go to the Halloween party so they can pretend like we're stupid teenagers. Dustin and Lucas approach Max, who seems to rebuff their invitation to go trick-or-treating with them. Eleven watches a romance movie in the cabin and repeats several lines before noticing a squirrel outside. She remembers killing one with her powers and cooking it while hiding out in the woods and hurting the flaming squirrel at and hurling the flaming squirrel at a hunter who approaches her, stealing his coat and hat. Pumpkin farmer Eugene McCorkle shows up at Hawkins police station with his crop severely rotted, believing it to be the work of the Merrill Wright. He reports that all his neighbors' farmers experiencing the same problems. Max is berated by her aggressive stepbrother Billy for her lateness as he drives her home. As he disparages Hawkins as whole, he reminds her that he blames her for having to move there. Wanting to admit her apparent, issues, he speaks up when he notices Mike, Dustin, and Lucas biking in the road, narrowly stopped from hitting them by Max grabbing the wheel. The boys recognize her as the car shoots by. Hopper arrives at McCorkle Farm and tracks the rot, finding it spreading to the trees in the form of a gray substance. He orders Phil Callahan and Calvin Powell to start making the rot, marking the rot, I should say, worried it could be poisonous. As Jonathan drives Will to meet up with his friends, he feels bad for him when Will, is mad that Jonathan has to be a chaperone. He lets Will go with his friends alone on the condition that he stays in the neighborhood and be back by 9, giving him Bob's video camera to document the evening. At the Halloween party, Billy breaks Steve's keg stand record as Nancy begins drinking excessively to forget her problems. Joyce and Bob dance together and she mentions her anxiety about Will being away from her. He reassures her that he cares for her and her sons, and the idea of moving out of Hawkins to help leave the family's traumatic experience behind. Max, dressed as Michael Myers, joins the boys uninvited during trick-or-treating. Hopper tracks the rot through the woods, hearing strange noises until McCorkle's grandson interrupts him, and he remembers his promise to 11. He pays the boy for some of his candy and speeds home. He signals to 11 on their Morse code radio that he will be late, and she remembers coming across Hopper's wooden box in the woods. As Dustin and Lucas try to impress Max, Mike expresses annoyance at them inviting her into the group without consulting him and Will. Will is approached by older boys who taunt him, calling him Zombie Boy and making him fall to the ground, seemingly sending him into the Upside Down. Confused, Will calls for Mike until the spider creature floating unfurls it in front of him and begins to pursue him. Mike finds Will hiding behind a house and snaps him out of it, taking him home and telling the rest of the group to continue without him, or without them. Jonathan awkwardly flirts with a classmate before being distracted by an altercation between Steve and Nancy, in which she is accidentally splashed with alcohol. While being cleaned up in the bathroom, she tells Steve that he and their love is bullshit, and she leaves. Jonathan, noticing Steve leaving the party, and drives Nancy home, tucking her into bed before leaving as she murmurs his name. Will explains his episode to Mike as being stuck between their world and the Upside Down, as well as describing the massive creature. He is unsure if the episode is a hallucination or real and begs him not to tell the others. Mike remarks that 11 would have understood and admits that he sometimes hears and sees her, feeling as though he is losing his mind. He promises Will that if they both go crazy, they will go crazy together. Hopper returns to find 11 irate and locked in her room with the television inside. Despite his apologies, she stays inside. She switches the TV to static to block out her hearing and blindfolds herself, slipping into the void and revealing that she has been listening in on Mike's calls to her. Mike asks her to give him a sign if she is still alive and seems to sense her presence when she kneels before him and says his name. She closes the supercom before she can touch him, or he closes the supercom, leaving her distraught. Dustin arrives home to hear something rattling around in his garbage can. He draws his costume's proton blaster and creeps towards it and utters, "Holy shit," when he sees what's inside. And that's what ends this episode of Stranger Things. So, a pretty good episode. Nothing spectacular, though. I'm going to give it an 8.3 out of 10. And then it's hard to kind of determine who the character of the episode is. There's a lot of people that did a lot of stuff, or, a lot of minor stuff, I should say. And I'm going to give this one to Jonathan. I feel like early Jonathan was solid, and then he eventually fell off. So you've heard everything that I have to say now. It's your turn. If you're a fan of Stranger Things and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please make sure that you Hulk smash the like button, share the video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are regarding this episode of Stranger Things. What would you rate the episode, and who would you choose as a character or characters of the episode? And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. Subscribe to the channel you're watching the video anyway. Help me get over 100,000 subscribers. Join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDET TV.